Hello everyone, welcome to Court with Krissy. It's Black Friday, and where I'm from, there's a winter storm. I'm not going out in this weather to look for bargains. I'm being very lazy. But I've lined up a deal for you, free of charge. It's not one traffic court, it's two. You'll be surprised with the ending. I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
Next matter is 24 TRD 8692, State of Ohio versus Albert Mensa. As Mr. Mensa joining us today?
Yeah, I'll patch him in just here in a second, Your Honor. If you'll just give me a sec.
Okay. He should be able to sign into the Zoom.
I don't know where he's licensed. I would assume his notice of will have his address on it.
All right, he's going to be signing in here in a minute.
Mr. Mensa, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear us?
Good afternoon.
Okay, Mr. Mensa is present with counsel via Zoom. Is it Mr. Lawn?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. King's here on behalf of the Law Director's Office. We're scheduled for a speeding trial today. Did Mr. Mensa wish to have a trial?
I suppose, yeah.
Okay. Mr. King, would you like to make an opening statement?
No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lawn, would you like to make an opening statement?
Waive opening, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. King, you may call your first witness.
Trooper Evans.
Right up there to the witness stand again? Yes, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give in this case now being the answer with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, and under the penalty of perjury? Yes, sir. Have a seat. Thank you. You're welcome. State your full name, spell your last name.
Yes, sir. It's Trooper Jeffrey Evans, EVANS, and the address for the office, right, is 2829 Dublin, West Dublin, Granville Road.
Thank you.
In Clarks.
You may proceed.
Thank you. You're employed by the Ohio State Patrol.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been so employed?
I've been with the Highway Patrol now for 12 years.
And what are your duties, your current duties with the patrol?
I'm specifically assigned to the aviation section. I've been in this section for 7 years. So I will go out and enforce the traffic laws from the air with a marked airplane or marked patrol car or airplane.
And how long have you been flying for the patrol?
For the patrol for 7 years,
And how long have you been a pilot?
since 2016.
When you're operating a patrol aircraft, first of all, do you wear the distinctive uniform of aviation similar to what you're wearing now?
Yes, sir.
Is the plane marked?
Yes.
How is it marked?
It's got the flying wheel on the left and the right side of the tail. It also has State Patrol on top of the wings. And it's identified also by the tail number as a HP, which is Hotel Pop, which is just signifying that it's a Highway Patrol aircraft.
Okay. And while you're operating that patrol aircraft, can you check the speed of a vehicle traveling on the roadway?
Yes.
And how do you do that?
It's over designated areas in the state of Ohio. We have what's called airspeed zones. They're typically 1 mile long. They can be longer or shorter, but they are hashed out by quarter miles. So they typically have 4 quarters in that zone, or a zone, I should say. We'll use stopwatches, and that will compute the time and distance mathematics and give me a speed reading when the vehicle crosses the lines.
And a quarter mile, that's 1,320 feet.
Yes, sir.
And go through the procedure on how you check. Did you mention watches? Do you utilize watches?
Yes.
And How do you check to make certain that the watches are operating correctly?
So we do 2 checks. One is a monthly check and one's a daily check. So the monthly check is done by monitoring the signal from the atomic clock, which is in Boulder, Colorado. We'll run those watches for approximately 2 minutes, and they have to be with plus or minus 1/10 of that 2-minute time frame. If it's found to be outside of those restraints or requirements, then we take that watch out of service and give it to a supervisor. They send it back to the manufacturers and or throw it away essentially, we get a new watch. We don't replace the batteries. And then we do a daily check before basically the start and the end of our shift, or start of a zone and end of a zone. We will do the 16-second check, which is just comparing the watches together. Run that for approximately 16 seconds, and that has to be plus minus 1/10 of a second. And we'll do those checks before the start of the zone and at the very end of the zone.
And when was your monthly check drawn in relationship to October 5th of 2024?
So the 2 monthly checks I did was on 9/10 of 24, and then on 11/6 of 24.
And you checked, how many watches do you use?
Typically 2 watches.
And did you check both of them?
Yes, sir.
On those 2 dates?
Yes, sir.
And were they accurate?
Yes, sir.
And how about the daily? When would you have done the daily on October 5th?
On this specific day, it was at 13:30, and then at 15:30 was when I started the time zone or the airspeed zone with these units, and then at the very end at 15:30.
And again, the 2 watches were within that time period or frame that you had indicated earlier?
Yes, sir.
And I want to draw your attention now to October 5th, 2024. Do you know what you were doing on that day?
Yes, on that specific day, I was working airspeed over the airspeed zone that's designated on Interstate 70. That's in Licking County by Buckeye Lake and the rest area out there. It's roughly milepost 132. We were working traffic on the westbound side, or checking speeds on the westbound side.
And that's Licking County, state of Ohio?
Yes, sir.
And at about 2:45 in the afternoon, do you have occasion to do a speed check on a vehicle traveling? Which direction were you monitoring?
We were checking the speeds of the westbound traffic.
And do you know what speed limit is in that area?
Yes, it's posted 70.
And at about 2:45 p.m., do you have occasion to check the speed of a vehicle traveling on that roadway?
I did. Said that it was a black SUV, was traveling at a high rate of speed prior to the zone, and then also during the zone. His speed was checked at 107 miles an hour. There was no similar vehicle at that time, and I radioed down to the ground units that had a vehicle at 107 miles an hour traveling through the zone, and then let them know when the vehicle exited the zone. Tracked that vehicle once it exited to the ground units, and then talk the ground units onto where that vehicle was in relation to them, and then conduct a traffic stop on that vehicle.
Now, this aircraft zone, speed zone, there are 4 quarters in there?
Yes.
Were you able to track this vehicle on all 4 quarters?
Yes.
And what was the speed over each of those quarters?
On this specific vehicle, the speeds were 104 in the first quarter, and then 107 in the second quarter, and then 105 in the third quarter, and 100 even on the fourth quarter as he exited the zone.
And you were working with a number of what I call the ground troopers. Do you know who was involved in this particular stop?
This particular stop was with Trooper Bowman.
And once you checked that speed and he left the speed zone, approximately how far ahead are those ground troopers?
Approximately maybe a quarter mile, maybe just a little less. They're from the last hash mark of the zone to where the troopers are staged at.
And there are multiple troopers?
Yes, sir.
And after checking, after this particular vehicle left the last quarter, what, if anything, did you do?
So when the vehicle left the zone, I verified a time of when we were going to issue the citation to the vehicle, and then gave the final speed of the vehicle through the zone. I radioed down to the next trooper that was on deck, if you will, and Trooper Bowman said that it was going to be himself, so he gave me his unit number, said he would be the one up, and I conducted, basically dragged the vehicle down to him to make sure he was able to lock onto that vehicle and stop the correct one without having any hiccup of trying to get the wrong vehicle.
Kind of a countdown system?
Yes, sir.
And after this vehicle was stopped, did you confirm with the trooper that he had the right vehicle?
Yes, so when the vehicle was stopped on the shoulder, in this specific case, it was stopped on the right shoulder, verified the time and the speed of the vehicle, and told him it was the correct vehicle on the right shoulder.
And at 107, do you recall whether or not this vehicle passed any other vehicles?
It passed several vehicles. I have on my paperwork that he passed 3+ vehicles, so 3 or more vehicles.
And did you ever lose sight of him?
No, sir.
And when you got the quarter speed readings, which lane was he in?
He was in the left lane throughout the entire zone.
Through the zone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recall what he did after he left the
I do
zone? Okay. What altitude were you flying?
This specific day I was flying at 3,500 feet.
And what were the weather conditions at the time of this violation?
The weather conditions, the wind was variable at 5 miles an hour. And then it was 10 miles visibility, statute miles. Sky was clear, so there was not a cloud out there. And like I said, the patrol altitude was 3,500.
And are you convinced, beyond a reasonable doubt, as to this vehicle's speed and that the ground trooper, Trooper Bowman, had stopped the right vehicle?
Yes, sir.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Long, any questions for the trooper?
Yeah, just a few. Thank you, Trooper. You had gone into great pains about the stopwatch
Yeah,
calibration.
can you stop
Yeah.
for a second, Mr. Long? We need some more volume. I don't know if you can turn your mic up, or we can try to turn you up on this end as well.
I'm about at maximum, Your Honor.
Okay. Can you? You don't have any control. Okay. Okay, just speak up for us, please. Okay.
Sure, no problem. Trooper, you went to great pains to tell us about the stopwatch calibration, but you didn't mention the airspeed zones calibration.
As far as,
Well, there was construction in that area. Did you measure those speed zones after the construction was completed?
I do not measure the zones, the troopers on the ground do.
Okay. So you have any idea when the last time those speed zones were calibrated?
I do not know.
Okay. So as far as you know, you have absolutely no idea whether they were accurate or not.
Unfortunately, no, I do not.
Okay. Also, you stated that defendant was driving a black SUV. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's just a dark car. I put a dark car, but yes.
Okay. It says on the ticket black SUV, and you testified to black SUV. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you did not get a plate number, obviously, from your altitude, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Mr. King.
No questions at the pilot.
Thank you. You may step down.
Thank you, sir.
May call your next witness.
Trooper Bowman.
Do solemnly swear or affirm testimony you should give in this case now being heard to be true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So if you God and tell me the truth.
Yes.
Have a seat. State your full name and spell your last name,
John Bowman, B-O-W-M-A-N,
and state your business address, please.
3855 Alville Road, Granville, Ohio, 43023.
You may proceed.
Thank you. You're employed by the Highway Patrol?
Yes,
How long have you been so employed?
9 years.
And were you working back on October the 5th of this year?
Yes.
Recall what shift you were working?
My normal shift, 8 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon.
And were you operating a plainly marked Highway Patrol cruiser?
Yes.
Wearing the uniform of the day similar to what you're wearing now?
Yes.
And what specifically were you doing at the time?
I was working with the pilot, and I was stationary near the 130 mile post in Licking Township in Licking County, westbound lanes near the rest area.
And as part of your duties, did you receive a radio message from Trooper Evans, who was flying a patrol aircraft?
Yes.
And as a result of this message, what did you do?
I listened to Trooper Evans as he described the vehicle and the vehicle approaching my location. I initially went down the right berm to gain speed and then merged over behind the specific vehicle that Trooper Evans described, and that he was describing the location of the vehicle to make a traffic stop.
And after this vehicle had stopped, did the pilot confirm with you that you had the right vehicle?
Yes.
And did he give you any other information?
The speed and the time that he checked the vehicle.
And what was the speed that he gave you?
107 and at 14:45.
Now, are you familiar with this roadway?
Yes.
Is there any construction in the speed zone area on this date?
No, not in the speed zone. It would be just west of where I was sitting, near State Route 79.
Okay. And what's the speed limit in this area?
70.
And the area that you were in, is that in Licking Township, Licking County, state of Ohio?
Yes.
The whole speed zone is?
Yes.
And have you personally measured the markings on the roadway?
Yes.
You're familiar with those?
Yes.
And how did you measure those?
With a roll of tape with another trooper as I walked the whole mile myself.
Yeah. Okay. He was riding, you were walking?
Correct.
Okay. And were each of the markings at least 1,320 feet apart,
Yes.
or a quarter mile?
Yes.
The individual who you stopped, I believe you saw a picture of him on the screen earlier. Can you identify him?
Yes.
Pull him up, Doug. Can you pull that picture?
Hang on just a second.
He's wearing the black shirt.
That's him
Mr.
featured
Mensa.
there?
Yes.
What were the road and traffic conditions like at this time?
It was just a clear, sunny day, moderate traffic, normal, if you will.
And you issued him the traffic citation for 170 in that 70-mile-an-hour zone?
I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. 107.
Yes.
I thought you
Not
said
170, if I said
107,
that.
yes.
Yeah, that would be a little
170 would be
excessive.
impressive.
Now, you had indicated, what color was this vehicle? Do you recall?
It was a black SUV.
And you say SUV, what do you mean by that?
It had a large roof area.
Okay, and you recall the model?
It was a BMW. I'm not sure the model.
Okay, but it was a BMW.
Yes.
Any conversations with the driver?
Initially, I believe he had a jersey on, so I thought, and it was a soccer jersey, so I thought he was going to a soccer game. He informed me that he was going to a funeral, and that's about it. He said he was not going 107.
Okay, I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Long?
Trooper, you had stated that you measured the line markings on the road, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you measure them that day?
No.
Okay. But there was some construction in that area. There had been construction previously, and now the construction had moved west, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, nothing further.
You may step down.
I did have a couple
Okay,
of
go
follow-up. Are you familiar with this area?
Yes.
The lines that you measured back then, are those the same lines that were still in effect?
Yes.
Okay, nothing further.
Anything else, Mr. Long?
Trooper, can you say definitively those lines were not moved or changed while there was construction ongoing?
They look like the same lines as when I measured them.
Okay, but you don't know that for sure, correct?
They look like the same lines I would assume that they would be, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
We have nothing further, Your Honor.
You may step down. Any other evidence today, Mr. King?
No, Your Honor, we would arrest.
Mr. Long, would you like to present any evidence today?
Yeah, I'd like to call Mr. Mensa, please, the defendant.
Okay, Mr. Mensa, you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in the case now being heard should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may proceed. Well, first state your name, spell your last name. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My name is Albert Mensah, Mensah.
Okay, and state your address. Okay, you may proceed. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mensa, you heard the testimony, is that correct? From the two troopers?
Yes, yes, it was. There's a dispute with that.
Okay, well, I got to ask you questions and you can answer them, okay?
Okay, all right.
So the troopers testified that you were doing 107 miles per hour. Do you think that's accurate? Yes or no?
No.
Okay,
No.
thank you. The troopers also testified that you were driving a black SUV. Do you own an SUV, sir?
No.
Okay, what kind of car do you own?
It wasn't my car. It was my friend's car that I was driving. It was a BMW 745. 745.
All right, is that a sedan or a two-door or what is it, sir? What kind of car?
It's a four-door sedan.
Four-door sedan, okay.
Yes.
So, but it is black, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nothing further, thank you.
Mr. King.
Thank you. It was a black BMW.
Yes, sir.
Were you able to see the last trooper that testified?
Yes, sir.
Was he the one that talked to you regarding your speed?
Yes, sir.
How fast were you going?
I was probably doing about 80 because we were in the construction zone. There were some construction, there were a lot of trucks on both lanes. So no one could pass the trucks. So as soon as the truck moved from the left lane to the right lane, that's when we all started moving. And it was less than maybe 2 miles. And next thing I knew, there were police officers everywhere, and I got pulled over.
And that's when you first saw the troopers?
Yes, that's when we.
You had no
I saw
idea
the
you were
troopers.
in
They were
a.
all packed.
You had no idea
They
you
were
were
all
in a.
packed.
You done?
Yes, sir.
You had no idea you were in the air zone, right?
No, sir. I have no idea.
And are you saying it was in a construction zone?
Yeah, there was construction before we got to where we're pulled over. So I wouldn't have the chance to be speeding. And with all the trucks, everything over there is no way I could be doing that speed with all the trucks over there and the construction.
Construction trucks everywhere?
Not the construction, I'm talking about the highway, the trucks on the highway.
Okay.
And with the construction, you cannot speed with that. So it was very congested till the road opened up.
Nothing further?
Mr. Long, anything else?
Nothing further, no?
Okay.
I would recall Trooper
Okay,
Bowman.
hold on a second. All right, Mr. Long, any other evidence today?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. King.
Recall Trooper Bowman.
Okay. Mr. Bowman, I'll remind you that you're under oath. You may proceed.
Thank you. Trooper Bowman, where exactly is this construction zone?
Well, there's one, like I said, just west near 79. And then there would be, I believe at that time, there was one around the 134, 135, right around there, milepost.
Where is that in relationship to the air zone?
So that's about roughly 2 miles east of the air zone. The air zone being
East of it?
Correct. The air zone being 132, roughly, milepost on Interstate 70. Construction being in Bowling Green Township in Lincoln County. Air zone being in Licking Township, Lincoln County.
Is your cruiser equipped with video?
Yes.
And you able to alter it, change it, or anything else?
No.
How's it activated?
It's,
Your Honor, are we on a new subject here?
I think he's rebutting the construction zone testimony as he's going to show video of the stop,
Yep.
it sounds like.
We'll agree that the stop was not done in a construction zone.
Okay. Is that what you thought he said, Mr. King, or?
He said there were trucks all around, and this video will show, other than vehicles, there is no construction anywhere around.
Okay. He said he came out of the construction. I don't think he said he was pulled over in a construction.
I believe that's accurate, Your Honor.
Yeah. Okay.
How far back was his construction zone?
like I said, there was 2.
Well, no. Coming westbound.
That would be about 2 miles prior to the air zone.
And then you've got the quarter miles.
And then, correct, that you have another construction zone near 79 on Interstate 70.
But that's farther west.
Correct.
He wasn't in that.
When he was checked by the pilot, no.
Okay. That's all I had, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Lon, any other questions for the trooper?
No, nothing further.
Okay.
Thank you.
You may step down. Anything in closing, Mr. King?
We'd rest on the evidence, would reserve the right for rebuttal.
Okay. Mr. Lon?
Yeah, Your Honor, it looks like they stopped the wrong car. The trooper in the plane said that it was a black SUV. The ticket says black SUV. The trooper who stopped him said he was told to stop a black SUV. He stopped a black BMW sedan. He stopped the wrong car, Your Honor.
Mr. King?
Pilot indicates that he never lost sight of the vehicle in question, that it was a dark colored, and obviously Trooper Bowman, it was confirmed he had the right car, and he was standing right beside that car. Thank you.
Okay, based on the evidence presented here today, I'll find Mr. Mensa guilty of speeding. Anything else, Mr. King?
No.
Okay, Mr. Lon, did you want to say anything before I enter the fine?
Your Honor, Mr. Mensa lives out of state, and he regrets the situation, but he's pretty sure he wasn't going 107. And I thought he was pretty truthful about saying he was speeding. However,
Okay.
we would ask that the court be generous and fines and car costs.
Okay. Yeah, he testified he thought he might be going 80. Okay, I'll impose a $150 fine and court costs. Anything further?
We have a little time to pay that, Your Honor.
Yeah, they'll give you 90 days.
90 days?
Okay,
Beautiful. Thank you, Your Honor.
thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Attention, anything.
Next matter is 24 TRD 3559, State of Ohio versus Justin Heinmiller. Mr. Heinmiller is present without counsel. Ms. Davison's here on behalf of the Law Director's Office. We're scheduled for trial today on a charge of prohibited use of an electronic device. Mr. Heinmiller, did you wish to have a trial today?
Yes, I wanted to have a trial because I was told it's a fairly simple thing, that it comes down to you guys and you, and just based on what I heard from the officer and based on everything else I've seen, I felt it was worth it.
Okay. Ms. Davison, would you like to make an opening statement?
No, we wouldn't, Your Honor. We
Okay. Mr. Heinmiller, would you like to say anything before we begin?
Yes, the only reason that I'm here today The only reason I'm here today is because I was told that I was pulled over for switching hands while I was making a phone call, like while I was making a turn. And I didn't realize that that was against the law. So anyway, I looked it up. I saw it was texting while driving. I got concerned. And then when I delved more into it, I saw there's a very clearly written exception for holding near or to the ear for conducting a phone call. That's the only reason I'm here. That's what I've been told by both the officer at the time, but also just from the clerk and all this other stuff. So that's the only information I have, and based on how it's written, it just didn't make sense to me. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Who may call you first witness?
The state will call Sergeant Card.
Right up there to the window seat, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give in this case now being heard to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury? I do. Have a seat. State your full name, spell your last name.
Joshua Carte, C-A-R-T-E,
And state your business address.
3855 Outville Road, Granville, Ohio, 43023.
Thank you.
May I proceed?
Thank you. Sergeant Card, how long have you been employed with the Ohio State High Patrol?
Over 9 years.
Okay. Were you working on April 28th of 2024?
I was.
What shift were you working that day?
I worked the 10P to 6A shift.
Okay. And when you were working that day, were you wearing a uniform today, such as the one you have on?
I was.
You said you worked the 10P to what?
I worked 10P to 6A as my normal shift.
Okay. Do you know if you were working your normal shift that day?
I did that night. If I could recall the ticket, I could look at the time that violation happened, and I could probably recall if I was coming from court or out for overtime or whatnot.
Okay. So would you like to see your statement to refresh your recollection?
I would.
Your Honor, may I approach?
May.
I'm handing you what's marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit A. Could you identify what that is for the record?
This is going to be the citation I issued on April 28th at 4:05.
Okay, and that time, did you refresh your recollection and get that time from this exhibit?
Yes.
Okay. Now we'll go back to the time of your shift, the times of your shift. Obviously, you said it was 10P to 6A. 4:05 is not during those times, so what
Correct.
was going on?
Out for overtime.
Okay.
Typically, during that time, it's speed overtime.
Okay. So, did you work then a couple hours before your start time at 10P?
No, so that would have been one of my days off if I was out at 4 p.m. Because we have different programs where we can work certain overtime. So OVI enforcement overtime occurs from 6P to 6A. Speed seatbelt overtime will occur from 6A to 6P. And I was working speed overtime that day.
Okay. Now, at approximately 4:05, where were you?
I was on State Route 16 near State Route 310 in Licking County.
Okay. And when you were on your shift that day, were you operating a marked patrol car with a working visible light bar?
I was.
Now, when you said you were at 16 and 310, what drew your attention to the defendant's vehicle?
My light was turning green. The oncoming the adjacent traffic was receiving a red light. Cars are moving slow. I observed him manipulating his phone while driving and then putting it up to both ears.
And can you show the court what you saw him doing when you say manipulating the phone?
Phone's in both hands. You're here, and it comes here, and then it comes here, and then it comes here. I stopped him because I seen him manipulating his phone while driving, and I informed him that I had observed him on his phone and going from ear to ear.
Okay. Now, when he was going from ear to ear, is that prohibited by the statute?
Not when you're talking on the device here, but you're not supposed to be able to manipulate it as you're driving. It's a distracting violation. I don't know what he was looking at. I don't know if he was typing anything, but it did come across his face. His head was down, not looking at the road, and then it went back to his other ear.
Okay. So when you saw this, how far away were you from the defendant?
Right near the intersection. If I had to put it in feet, probably within 10 to 15 feet.
Okay. And when you watched him switch hands and look down at the phone, about how many seconds did that take?
3-4 seconds.
Okay.
With your...
And after you watched him do that, you said you initiated a traffic stop?
Yes, I got behind him. I activated my overhead lights and I initiated a traffic stop. Mr. Heinmiller stopped, and we spoke about why I stopped him and his cell phone.
Okay. And when you approached the car, was Mr. Heinmiller the person driving?
He was.
And did you ask for identification when you approached him?
Yes.
And is that when he became known to you as Justin Heinmiller?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you see Mr. Heinmiller in the court?
Yes, ma'am. He's sitting right in front of me. Black shirt, glasses, with the orange pen hanging.
Okay. And what did you tell Mr. Heinmiller with regard to the traffic violation?
It would have been along the lines of educating him on the distracted driving law, not being able to manipulate your mobile device while driving, and that I seen him moving it from ear to ear.
Okay. Now, after you spoke to the defendant, did you issue any citation?
I did. I informed him because of the distracted violation. He was going to be receiving a citation for that. I typically inform people that commit these violations that there is an option to review the video to get the enhancement to fall off their citation for distracted.
Okay. And when you saw him moving the phone, was the car still moving or was it stationary?
It was moving.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Mr. Heinmiller, do you have any questions for the trooper?
Yes. I don't know if this is a time for questions or statements. Probably 80% of what they're saying is correct.
Okay. Do you have any questions for the trooper about what happened right at this point?
I guess the first thing that I would ask is, do your notes include anything about manipulating the phone? Because today is the first day that any of us, you, me, or anybody else has.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay.
It-
It's just
he
a
can't
question.
He can't speak for anybody else.
What do you mean?
Well, he's saying that's the first time he's heard of it. You, me, anyone else?
Overruled. He can ask the question.
I should say, for me, this is the first time that I have heard from the officer. Obviously,
Okay.
this is an interaction.
You can ask him the question. You don't get to make statements
Okay.
as to.
I'm just asking if this had
You can ask him if it's in the statement or if he said it to you.
Yeah, if it's in the notes and in his initial notes for the citation. That's my question.
So, am I good to answer, Mr. Heinmiller? So how traffic stop typically goes for me, I make initial contact, I inform them of violation, I identify the defendant. I inform them whether I'm going to take enforcement or issue a warning to change that driving behavior. In this case, I told you I was going to be taking enforcement. I went back to my patrol car, typed up your citation, and then I come back up, I explained the citation to you, I explained ways you could take care of it, ways you could take care of the enhancement. And then I go back to my patrol vehicle, and then I sit in my patrol vehicle after I clear from my stop, and I type notes. In that notes section, I did write that you were operating a vehicle, manipulating your phone with both hands, moving it from ear to ear.
That was good. That's all I wanted to know. That's why we're here for sure.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, Ms. Davidson.
No, thank you.
You may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Stay as note for the witnesses, we
Okay.
rest.
All right. Mr. Heimiller, would you like to testify today?
Yes.
Okay.
Right up there to the witness stand. Go right up there. Go right up there, step. Remain standing and raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give in this case now being heard to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God, or until me of perjury.
I do.
Have a seat up there. State your full name and spell your last name.
Okay.
Name is Justin Lloyd Heinmiller. Last name is spelled H-E-I-N as in New York, Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R.
And state your full home address.
Full home address is
Thank you.
Want to tell me what happened, Mr. Heimiller?
So, my testimony, or what I wanted to say, is that, like I said, 80% of what they said is correct. I was absolutely on the phone. I was on the phone prior to him ever seeing me, and I was on the phone even after he pulled me over. Again, that's because I did not know about that part of the law, about being on the phone or not. And I did ask him, I said, well, since when has that been a law? I am not going to pretend to be informed about that, but what I do know now is that I was on the phone leading up to him seeing me, prior to him pulling me over, and I stayed on the phone, and I did switch hands, and I know that's why he pulled me over, because he told me that. And the only reason that I'm here is because he had specifically said that, and the only notes in his citation, which I have not seen, but that I've heard from the clerk or from anybody else, from him or the clerk, is simply that I got this ticket because I was on the phone. And he even explicitly asked me, he said, is there some kind of emergency? And I said, yes, my daughter's on her way to the ER, it's an emergency to me. He said, well, that doesn't qualify, and that's okay. I understand that. But this law very clearly states it does not prohibit you from conducting a phone call, and that's the only thing that happened. Anything about manipulating the device that's from today. That's very new. And he and I had a conversation about that, and I admitted to him that I was on the phone, and I figured, well, that's what it says, it's a done deal. I would not be here other than, I think it's the 4th or 5th exception in that list, in that law. It says you're allowed to conduct a phone call with the phone near or at your ear, and that's the only thing that happened. And as far as looking distracted while I was driving, the reason that I switched that phone over is literally because I'm looking both ways at a stop sign. This is when he observes me. So they're saying that I was looking at my phone, manipulating it, but if I was doing that, I wouldn't have to switch the phone in my hand or anything like that. The prosecutor has said that maybe I was looking at it after I turned, but they've both said different things. My point is I was on the phone, and I'm sure I could get phone records and all that, but I didn't think this would be that big of a deal. It clearly states you're allowed to conduct a phone call at the ear or near the ear. That's what I was doing. I was on the phone prior to him pulling me over, and I was on the phone after he pulled me over. So, I think it's pretty clear, and maybe you don't see it, or maybe they don't see it that way. But that's the main thing that I wanted to get out there, is that, it's pretty basic, and it's not against the law to conduct a phone call at the ear while you're driving at all. It's against the law to touch the dial or to hit call. If you do it while you're driving, holding it like that, and that's my understanding of it, but it is not against the law to just simply call somebody and just have it at your ear while you're talking. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Ms. Davidson?
I have no questions, thank you.
Okay. All right, so you were on a telephone call before you made the turn, is that what you're saying?
I had gotten a call that day, and this is what I told him. He says, there's some kind of emergency or something?
Yeah.
And I said, I mean, for me, there kind of is. My daughter's on the way to the ER. She had had a bug that flew into her ear, which I know none of this is relevant. I'm not saying it is, but I'm just telling you, like, that was a lengthy phone call with my wife.
Okay.
And I was talking to her because she was in the car with my, at the time, 9-year-old screaming because this bug was in her ear, and I was trying to find out where they were going. So
Okay.
I was absolutely on the phone, but
When did that call start?
it started before I even got to that stop sign.
Okay.
I believe he observed me at Headley's Mill, and that's when he first saw me, because that is when I switched the phone again, because I'm looking both ways when I'm driving, turning
And
from
you
a
were
stop
still,
sign.
you were still talking on the phone call when he had you pulled over?
I was,
Yeah.
because I let her know what was going on.
Same phone call?
Same phone call, same continuous phone call.
You didn't enter anything into your phone
Not at all.
manually? Okay.
Not at all.
All right, you may step down.
Thank you.
Any other evidence today, Mr. Heinmiller?
Sadly, no.
Okay. Ms. Davidson?
I have nothing.
Okay. Anything in closing?
No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Heinmiller, you want to say anything in closing?
Yes, the last thing I'll say is that, like I said, it's written out there pretty clear that you're allowed to conduct phone calls. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know any better than a cop or a judge about this thing. You guys deal with this 1,000 times a day. But I want to know if it can be ruled, well, I mean, they're here obviously, so it's not quite what I was thinking, but I want to know if it can be ruled that, oh yeah, even though it says that you're allowed to do this, just eat it. You just got to deal with it. That's why I'm here, so.
Okay. But, I mean, there's an exception for having the phone up to your ear for a phone call.
Sure.
It's a inartfully written statute.
It's very artful, and that's
And-
my whole reason for being here,
yeah,
because I saw
no,
that and
and
I
I-
said, well, then why was I even pulled over?
Yeah, no.
Because that's all
I
that you
understand.
saw.
Well, I mean, the purpose of the statute is for people not to be handling their phones.
Yeah, and they shouldn't, I
Yeah,
agree with
yeah,
that.
and-
And I just dealt with it.
So, so that's the purpose, and that's what they're trying to get at there.
That's fine.
Based on your testimony here today, I'll find you not guilty based on that exception. And I think any doubt as to the other parts of the statute are go in favor of the defendant generally as well. But, be aware if you're handling your phone, you're probably going to get pulled over.
Since this whole thing happened, because he also told me,
Yeah.
afterwards, he said, if you're not gonna have like a hands-free thing holding your phone, people are probably gonna pull you over. I've gotten that because I just didn't know how sensitive it was. And I
Yeah,
also,
sure,
again,
sure,
nothing
that's fine.
personal.
Yeah.
But I didn't know people were gonna be pulling people over just for having the phone up to your ear. I mean,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense.
No,
So,
I understand.
To avoid that, I'm gonna, that's how I've
Yeah, if you can
decided
go,
to deal
if you
with
can
it.
go hands-free, that's the way to go.
Yes, you're
Obviously
right.
not, older cars, it's harder to do with us to do that. The newer cars are pretty integrated to those things. But yeah, just be aware that's what they're looking for.
Of course.
All right, any other questions, anything else?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
No, thank you.